The high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers. The wall of power will fall.
Hi, you're listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. Welcome, everybody. This is your host, Paul Metza. We have one of the most colorful men in Minnesota rock and roll on the other line. He's going through some health issues, so we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about his incredible rock and roll history in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We're speaking with bass player, guitar player, songwriter, fisherman, and guitar repairman. Welcome, Kurt Nelson, the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is the first time I've had you on the show, but I've known you for 40 years. But I want to find out more about you. But first of all, how are you feeling this evening?
Oh, I feel okay. Extremely adequate.
And I heard you went fishing with our buddy Jody Hanks yesterday. Did you get any?
Yeah, I took him out on the pontoon on the lake here, caught a big old basket of sunnies.
Nice.
Everybody happy.
I'm happy to hear that. That's those fish. That's good eating food. Those sunnies.
Oh, hell yeah, and I have them in my backyard, so I'm a happy camper.
So, Kurt, let's cut right to the chase. You're dealing with some health issues. What's up with that?
Oh, I've had throat cancer I was actually diagnosed election day, November 8th, and dealt with a little bit of chemo, and I dealt with a little radiation, and that was all I wanted to deal with. And so I'm basically just going to ride it out at this point. So, yeah, I got throat cancer, but I waited until I was old.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm age 71, the same age as my dad when he croaked.
Well, the last time I saw you, you've got the body of a 71-year-old.
Yeah, I usually try to keep that stuff hidden.
Yeah. Well, you know, you and I have known each other for 40-some years. We played several shows together, especially one of those shows you used to put on for the years of a benefit for a food bank, Peas, P-E-A-S, on Earth.
Yeah, I used to do that at the Caboose all the time, every year. The annual Peas on Earth show and various other, food shelf-related gigs and stuff we put together.
Well, you've always been an upstanding member of the community, always giving back. But let's go back to Kurt Nelson's first guitar, first bass, or regular guitar, whatever. How'd you get into the music biz, and when did you get the bug?
Oh, the same as everybody else, the Beatles. Sixth grade, we moved from the blue jean side of Bloomington to the slack-wearing side of Bloomington. And I stuck out like a sore thumb in school. I got reported for swearing all the time. Got out of sixth grade, got into seventh grade. Little skinny guy. And with no friends, and so I started telling everybody I played guitar. And I kept the lie up for a little over a year until I finally had to start playing so I could prove it. And so I had a friend teach me a couple of chords. And so basically I lied my way into guitar playing. It was necessity.
What were some of those first songs you learned?
Oh, I'm back from House of the Rising Sun and all that stuff. And, 60s radio, early 60s radio. Mom got me the Silvertone amp and case guitar.
Cool.
And that luckily actually played well. And it was off to and luckily for my lying, it turns out I was a natural.
Cool.
I picked it up right away, and I got out of the lie.
Who were some of the first guys or the first band you played with?
Nobody, everybody heard, some little kid bands. I think probably the first song I ever played was Winchester Cathedral. I did the lead, do 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 do. So back then, that kind of stuff, and then Hendrix showed up, and then recreational drugs showed up, and then my mind followed all that, and I became a lead player and singer, and found out I could write songs, and the next thing you know, I'm a musician.
What, do you remember the first song you wrote?
Not particularly, just, stupid little stuff, probably poop related somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't count. Those aren't real songs. Well, yeah, they are. All songs are real.
When you got old enough to go and see bands, what shows were you able to see? You didn't happen to see Hendrix at the Armory, did you?
I saw both of the Hendrix shows.
Wow.
And we even had a tape of the first one. That got lost. But it is out there on YouTube. Somebody else taped it, I guess.
So one was at the Armory. Where was the other Hendrix show?
The St. Paul one, and then Minneapolis Auditorium.
What do you remember about it?
Completely bling. Well, one of the things was I learned to play Hendrix and Clapton leads by myself by slowing down the record player. We used to have 16 on our record player.
Wow.
And that would make a complete octave lower than the sun,
Right.
So you could slow down the leads, learn them, and then keep playing them faster and faster until you could sound kind of like the record. And then I went and saw Hendrix, and he was putting his fingers in the same place as I was, where I taught myself.
Cool.
And I just went, wow, how did that happen?
What was, back then there was kind of primitive PA systems, but he was playing through those Marshall amps. Were those shows really loud?
Excuse me, what? I couldn't hear you. Yes, they were. Yeah, because it's all stage volume, too.
Yeah.
So it stacks of Marshalls and the cops trying to keep everybody in order. And that was the first show. The second show, Hendrix wasn't doing too well. I had a horrible headache. A buddy of mine, Billy Francie, rest in peace, actually got to hang out with him at the second show. And Jimmy was really depressed at the time he played here in the second show. So that kind of explained the second show wasn't into it as much as he was the very first one.
I have a buddy who shall remain homeless who met Hendrix, I think, at that first show. And I heard the story how my buddy smoked a joint with him. And then when I finally bumped into my buddy, I asked him about it. He goes, no. He goes, Hendrix was looking for some weed. He goes, we didn't smoke a joint. He said, we smoked my whole bag. So what other early rock and roll shows were you able to see Kurt Nelson?
I went to the Zeppelins, which I had to walk out on them. But just all the rock and roll shows that came through after that. Alice Cooper, the Faces were always a guaranteed party. And just soaked up whatever they had coming by.
You didn't happen to see Zeppelin at the Guthrie Theater, did you?
Who?
Led Zeppelin at the Guthrie Theater.
No, I missed that one. I was with my parents at a family function or something.
Yeah.
I saw them at the Civic Center or something, and I ended up having to leave during the 25-hour drum solo. I went, that's enough for me.
Well, there you go, discerning young musician. So tell us about when you really started to play around town. What year was that, and what was the scene like? Because you were there. I just watched
Well, when really, I was we were in a cover band called Metropolis. Well, first, in the late 60s, the Mellow Tones, and it was a 4-piece blues band with the bass player you may know, Billy Black.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he was our bass player back in like 69, 70. The Mellow Tones. And we played like the joint before the caboose was even the caboose.
Right.
And that was up until the early 70s and Jay Giles and all that. Then we broke up. I went to Florida, ended up going to South Georgia where my half-sister lives. And there was a band there called the Jets. And they were playing all this R&B and power and stuff that I wasn't into. But when these guys played it, I went, wow, I like these guys. And so I just kept bugging them to let me jam, and they let me. Eventually, I ended up being in the band. And then the singer was Mickey Thomas, the guy that sang Fool Around and Fell in Love.
Wow.
And also all that horrible Jefferson Starship.
So when did you get back to Minneapolis?
That would be in the mid-70s. And then I was off to learn how to do guitar repair in Palo Alto around 76. And ran into the punk rock scene down there as it was forming. And then I fell in love with that. Because you add that with R&B and stuff, and then the rock and roll before that, and I got myself a nice blend of everything going and started writing all the time, and then eventually put You and Who's Army together and played where we could. Put out 4 CDs, or actually 1 CD and 3 tapes.
So where were you?
Yeah, and just decided not to kill myself. I know, I go to San Francisco, pick up the punk, come back here, play with Frank Berry, put the Pistons together, and that album, Big Hits of Mid-America Volume 3, had it on there, and it was like the hit of the record for a while. So I did the Pistons until I got kicked out right away because I wouldn't just stand on stage like Elvis Costello. I had to move. And Frank didn't like that. So I got fired.
Stay tuned as the Wall of Power Radio Hour continues next.
I put Simba together there was a reggae band from the islands called Simba. that we had hired for barn parties back in the old days. And I got a bunch of them back together with a couple other friends of mine. I'd written a reggae song. We recorded it. And then for a couple of years, I was playing original reggae.
Wow.
At the same time as we had Shangoya and everything.
Sure. You know, I've always said, Kurt...
So that's kind of in a nutshell.
You know, people wouldn't believe that in Minneapolis, St. Paul, in the mid to late 70s, early 80s and on, that it had such a great reggae scene.
Oh, I didn't hear anything there. Nothing came through.
It's amazing. I tell people that in Minneapolis, St. Paul, from the mid 70s through the 80s and beyond, what a great reggae scene it was.
Yeah, there was a bunch of bands sprung up at that time.
Yeah, Ipso Facto and Shangoya, Simba. So when...
I can't. The Oxy is not letting me remember the other names, but there was a bunch of other bands too.
So so then what were you, after Simba, who were you playing with?
Oh, okay. Let me see, that quit. And I think I did some road work with John Haga and Jumpin' Joe Hunt in a band called the Rockadots.
Sure, I remember them.
Yeah, we got the pleasure of playing Williston, North Dakota in the middle of winter and for a week and just, being a road band and about a year of that, and I went, screw this, and that was it. And then I put You and Woods Army together in the 80s, late 80s, and we just concentrated on original.
You know, we all had to play in South or North Dakota at some point in the middle of the winter. And I remember there was a band, you might remember, they put out a single called, If You're Gonna Play in Fargo, Keep a Shovel in the Van.
Yep. and keep the van running.
Yeah. And I remember Joe Hunt, because that guy used to sell guitars at Nude Coupe, 28th Street, right off Hennepin. Excuse me. And he always looked like he was ready to go on stage. The guy was had the perfect rock star look.
Yep.
And no longer.
It was fun. It was fun when it was fun, and it wasn't when it became a grind.
Tell us a little bit about playing around in the early punk scene in Minneapolis. I just watched the documentary about Jay's Longhorn. You were part of that, I believe.
I'm in the movie.
Yeah.
You get to see a lot of my naked nipples.
What was that scene like? I imagine a lot. That was right before I moved to town, but there had to be a lot of energy in that scene.
It was party, and it was progress. It was songwriting. It was not giving a flying whatever you have to give. And it was just a community, which still is. That community, I just got done helping me out with GoFundMe. Where it's still a tight-knit community of ex-rockers that just fell in love with each other at the Longhorn and stayed in love.
And for those of you out there in the radio audience, my guest, Kurt Nelson, still has his GoFundMe up. I think just K-U-R-T, Nelson as it sounds. We all know how to spell that name. Go and throw a few bucks at Kurt. He's been a great member of the music community for years. And it's been a while since I moved out of Minneapolis, but you used to do incredible work on my guitars.
Oh, yeah. Luckily, I became a guitar repair guy.
Yeah.
Turns out I was good at that, too.
Well, it was funny, and you're true to your school, because I always had to drop my guitars off at Twin Town Guitars on 34th and Lindale. I always thought if I could bring them to you directly, you'd cut me a deal. You go, no, got to take them down to Twin Town.
Hey, those guys took care of me. We were together for 27 years before I had to quit because of a couple of months ago because I couldn't keep up with the work anymore. But, yeah, righteous gentleman down there.
What, before we're going to pick this conversation up in a bit, but didn't you, where you live out there by St. Croix River outside of Stillwater, didn't you tell me you used to hang out, and did you get a little piece of where John Dillinger's hideout?
Oh, yeah, it's gone now, but it was an old cabin that local rumor and was Dillinger stayed there for a couple of weeks. And it was a cool old cabin, and that's where I got my famous cat, Roundhead. He lived under the cabin, and then I adopted him, and now he's been with me for 14 years out here, and that's a good thing.
Girl I ever seen, how did she turn out so damn mean? I was talking to girl, eyes are blue. I said, how do you do? Upside the head with an overshoe. Well, I met a girl, her eyes are gray. What more can I say? Ooh, ooh, ooh. So in the days of our lives, in the search for tomorrow, I keep looking for the guiding light. With all my children in another world. That woman for a life, she spat my drink just to spite. A girl I met here, red and wet, she said I need a safety net, and drove off in a white Corvette. I met a girl, her hair was blonde, she said before that she'd been conned. Later on. So in the days of our lives, in the search for tomorrow, I keep looking for a guiding light. With all my children in another world, yeah. Woo!
We're continuing our conversation with Minneapolis heavy-duty rocker, blues cat, Kurt Nelson. Kurt, when we spoke before, I didn't ask you, who are some of your favorite national, international musicians, and who are some of your favorite over the years Twin Cities musicians?
Keith Moon, Keith Richards, any of the Kings, all of the Kings.
Sure.
And then punk rock and all that stuff that came along, and Stevie Wonder and Tower of Power and any number of R&B from the 50s on. You know, a little bit of everything. And as far as locals go, I always had a soft spot for the suburbs. And they even let me play with them on a couple of records, and used to have me on stage often. And the Gestures with Run, 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 one of the greatest songs ever. And, of course, the best song ever out of Minneapolis 20 years ago in Speedy's Kitchen.
Oh, yeah, Barry Goldberg. Yeah, love that one.
Yep. Greatest song ever.
He wrote, I believe Barry wrote that when he was like 16 years old.
Yep. And what a great song. What a great production. Just amazing.
Yeah, that is a great song. I remember it fondly. About we've been playing some music from You and Whose Army. First of all, who came up with that great name for the band?
That would be me, and the spelling has always been misspelled and was wrong. It's U, ampersand, WHO apostrophe S, Army. Meaning it was you, one of us was you, and one of us was who, and the rest of us were the Army.
How long did you guys play together?
Oh, I would say I started in 86, and we quit recording in 99, I think, and then played a bunch more gigs until Pops, our keyboard player, died. And that, you know how that works.
Oh, yeah.
If you either keep the band name and keep limping along, which we did a little bit. But yeah, it ended basically in the 2000s.
Hey, I got to ask you, talking about favorite Twin Cities musicians, I believe I spent a little time in the aptly named Green Room with you and Curtis A.
I would think so, yes.
Tell the people out there about Curtis A. I think he's the world's greatest rock and roll singer.
Yeah, fantastic singer. Although my only complaint is been reading lyrics for a long time now instead of just singing, but that goes with your memory.
Well, but
unbelievable singer.
But the guy can probably sing, with or without a lyric sheet, hundreds of songs, so he's got that going for him.
Yeah. No, he's incredible.
So tell us...
a great first name.
Yeah, for sure. Named after the Curtis Hotel. When his mother woke up from the hospital, they didn't have a name, and she was... HCMC, the Hennepin County Medical Center, was right across the street within eyesight of the Curtis Hotel. Thus, the name, although Curtis added an S to it, but God bless him.
Well, I also heard that the Leamington was also out the window. And I actually always thought that would have been a better name.
Curtis Leamington. Yeah.
No, Leamington Homestead.
Oh, there you go. Right, correct. Or it could have been Curtis Stash Leamington.
Yeah.
With a bicycle. Hey, tell us about who did these incredible horn arrangements for you and Who's Army.
It was Kevin Nord, who through the Army, I'm not sure how I got hooked up with him, but him and his lovely wife Lori used to play with us all the time, do horn arrangements, play with us for free, and he even got Mike Nelson of Prince fame, you know, the longest surviving horn arranger for Prince, and now he's arranging for Corey Wong, incredible trombone player. He did our third tape with Kevin and Lori, where we had a horn section with Clint Hoover on chromatic harp, Mike Nelson on trombone, and then Kevin and Lori on saxes and trombones. And yeah, it was incredible. But it was Kevin Nord that I would just hand him the songs, and I'd say, put charts to it. And he never failed us. It was always incredible.
Well, it always pays to have people more talented than yourself in the band. I've learned that the easy way. And it's always good to get a horn section to play for free. I'm reminded of the when Mickey Raphael started playing harmonica with Willie Nelson in the early 70s. Paul English, Willie's longtime drummer and manager, asked him to sit in. He played a great set with Willie, and Willie said, "Well, what did he charge?" And Paul said he played for free, and Willie said double his pay.
All right. Exactly. But no, yeah, and then Kevin went on to play with the Suburbs. But yeah, it was great. He liked the music so much that whatever you need, just send me tapes, or I'll show up and we'll put something together, and it'll always be good.
And it sure
so that was sweet.
The stuff I've heard, Kurt. So you, I kind of ask you, what when you got your first diagnosis? When was that, and how did it affect you?
It was 2022 election day, and it was just, well, I finally got it. You know, I was always waiting. You know, at 70, at that point in my life, I'm just waiting for shoes to drop, and that was one of the shoes I got. Yeah, and before that, I got rheumatoid arthritis, which kind of disappeared with the cancer, so that was nice.
Wow.
But yeah, it was just at that time of my life where I'm, you know, basically expected it after what I've done my whole life. So it really didn't, you know, I expected it halfway, more than halfway.
Well, you know, like all of us, if we knew we were going to live this long, we would have taken better care of ourselves.
Or as I have always said, if I would have known I was going to live this long, I would have bought a lot more pairs of socks.
So, Kurt, this has been such a pleasure speaking with you, and I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully in the not too distant future. And so, you're in the midst of a very successful GoFundMe campaign. People can go to GoFundMe and find Kurt Nelson, Kurt with a K. Please donate. This guy's been a real solid member of the Twin Cities music scene for closing on 50 years, if not a little more. So we want to wish you the best. And what do you got any short-term plans besides getting out and fishing and hanging out with your cat Roundhead as much as possible?
That's basically it at this point. is just enjoy one last summer here, which is bonus because I didn't think I was going to make it, over winter.
Well,
Not through any symptoms or anything, just because, this advances, and I decided not to do any, drastic measures to intervene at my advanced age.
well,
So I had a great run. I played with some great people. I did, in the old days, I used to do Peas on Earth at the Caboose every year. Get a bunch of bands together, donate all the money to food shelves. Matter of fact, my crowning glory was I did Exile on Main Street with 36 different musicians, cover to cover, and I got the Wax Museum and some other company to donate every Rolling Stones CD.
nice.
And the prize was for whoever brought the biggest donation. And guys were going back and forth with 50-pound bags of rice trying to win the thing. And they had to get extra trucks to pull in the hall that year.
Nice.
And I did Exile cover to cover, just like the record, with 36 different musicians, Curtis A. included. Everyone in town jumped on the bandwagon.
Well, that's because any musician in town, if Kurt Nelson asked, we'd be there. I did a few Peas on Earth with you.
Yep.
Kurt, I just want you to know, personally, from Paul Metzger, I've always been a friend. You've worked on my guitar. I've seen you play, and you're one of the greatest hangs in the Twin Cities music scene. We hope you have as long as you can. We're going to miss you when you're gone, but I just want to know Paul Metzger loves Kurt Nelson big time. What, Kurt, I got to ask you, you, according to your GoFundMe, you got a limited amount of time here walking the earth. Do you have any great insights into mortality or your life or anything you can pass on?
Well, I really can't, because I was lucky and was able pretty much my whole life to do everything my way, which also involves not worrying about being poor. You got to get rid of the idea of greed and love the hell out of everybody.
Sorry about the long face the other day, but it's so sad to see you have to go away. Though I dream of you at night,
Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. Follow me at paulmetza.com. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.
Someday, the high and the mighty will fall. There will be no power brokers. The wall of power will fall. In the time before the fire, in the time before the wheat, strong man would walk the earth, keep the weak man beneath his feet. No one told the weak man what his life was worth, and no one told the strong